to our Meet the Candidates Forum. Thank you all for your interest and your attention to the Noble District. My name is Dr. Brenda May, and I have lived near the Noble Road for more than 30 years. For more than 4 years, a growing group of neighbors has worked together in a wide variety of efforts to make the neighborhoods along Noble friendly, safe, and attractive to everyone. And I applaud you all because you guys have been doing a phenomenal job for 4 years now. So on behalf of the Noble neighbors, we welcome you all here tonight. Thank you to Noble Road Presbyterian Church for hosting us tonight. Noble Neighbors regularly meets in church buildings in the neighborhood, as well as a few other random, sometimes outdoor empty lot spaces. And while none of these churches has ever charged us a fee, they certainly have incurred costs to host us. Noble Neighbors has a habit of expressing thanks to each of these hosts by donating towards their building operations fund. So I see that the people that were at the front of the church entrance over there were actually soliciting to make a donation, and now we have a solicitation over here. So if you donate $1 or $2 tonight, where that money will go to is to this congregation's building operations fund. That's what that's all about. None of the donations will be directed towards Noble Neighbors itself. And we're glad to do that. We're grateful that they are hosting us. Tonight we're here to listen to the Cleveland Heights City Council candidates discuss issues that pertain to the Noble Road quadrant of Cleveland Heights. The Noble Road neighborhoods encompass about 2 square miles of our city, and we are home to about 12,500 residents. We are a quarter of this city here in Cleveland Heights. Noble Neighbors regards the vitality of this northeast quadrant of Cleveland Heights as critical to the vibrancy of the city and the school district as a whole. And while we're equally concerned with the matters that concern all of Cleveland Heights, we're keenly aware that there's certain issues that uniquely impact the neighborhoods and business districts that abut Noble Road. So we've invited each candidate to engage in a conversation with us as we seek partners to help us thrive in a more safe, friendly, and attractive district. We know that the whole city is impacted by the challenges that we're facing in this area. We're also certain that with each step we take to revitalize, the whole of Cleveland Heights is benefiting from our growing story of success. While only some of these candidates will receive votes that place them on city council, it's our hope to gain new friends from every one of them and advocates for every person that has offered their service to our city. To the candidates, we applaud your willingness to participate in a grueling campaign schedule at a time when our challenges really are so formidable. Thank you all for your concern for your fellow citizens. The structure of the evening tonight, our preparation process has been this. On September 2nd, an email went out to the Noble Neighbors email list, which is approximately 500 people at this point, telling them that we will structure this forum like we have structured our past 2 forums the past couple of years. Everyone is invited to submit a question via email, or we also did this in writing at our September 5th meeting. These questions were sorted by topic, and they're prioritized by pertinence to the Noble area. We have submitted these questions to the candidates about 2 weeks ahead of time. It was our purpose to give them time to prepare and even research if they needed to, so that they can use their limited time tonight most effectively. Listen then and hear who's done their homework for tonight. We will not be taking any questions from you during the formal part of this evening, but I've asked every candidate to stay for 30 minutes beyond the formal timed part of the presentation to meet you, greet you one-on-one or in small groups and answer questions. So yes, you will be able to ask your particular question to them as you introduce yourself to them. Tonight's meeting is being videotaped by Richard Stewart, who's the President Emeritus of Future Heights, And he's also the owner of DigiZoom Media, so we're very grateful for him to do that. We will post that video or a link to that video on nobleneighbors.com as soon as we can. And by the way, for the first time, we are also live streaming this on Facebook tonight. Hello, Facebook fans. For the past couple years, those of you who have participated in our forums have offered feedback that you have appreciated our social contract that we've agreed to as an audience. And so we're going to continue that pattern with this request tonight. To help our evening proceed most efficiently, I'd like to request that you applaud the candidates only twice this evening. The first time will be when I invite them up to the podium, and then the second time to applaud them will be when we're finished and they're going out. And candidates, at that point, I'm going to ask you kind of scatter around the room so you can find your own space to meet people who want to ask you questions. So part of that social contract also then asks you not to call out questions or to vocalize either in support or in opposition of any candidate. We intend for tonight's event to move along at a very good pace and for us to engage in civility. So there's a social contract. How many of you are willing to agree to that? All right, that's the way we're going to proceed tonight. Just as a reminder, because sometimes this is very confusing in Cleveland Heights, all of these candidates tonight are running for city council member at large. We do not have wards. We do not have different sections of the city divided where someone represents our wards. We do not elect a mayor. City council itself votes for a president, its own president, which is also called mayor. So, do we have a mayor? Yes. Did you vote for a mayor? No. So that's where those kind of things come from there. Another note I need to give you tonight, Jason Stein, who is also a candidate, has a schedule conflict tonight. He's already submitted his responses to both our opening statement and to our questions. And Carol Rowe, who is also currently a council member of Cleveland Heights, will be reading his responses. She is not permitted to read anything beyond what he has written. By the way, this same issue will occur next week. We also have a candidate next week who is unable to attend either the judge forum or the school board candidate forum, and they're offered the same courtesy. They're welcome to have a representative read their answers to our questions. We want to hear about these candidates. We understand that there's a bazillion things going on in the city right now. So would you please, this is your one chance to applaud here, clap them on up to the stage. We have Taz Nadas, or T. Nadas. Jason Stein is represented by Carol Rowe, Cheryl Stevens, Mike Unger, and Melissa Yazan. Each of these will offer a 3-minute opening statement, and that will be done in alphabetical order. And you may notice that they're sitting in alphabetical order at this point. They each have 2 minutes to speak. We've submitted 3 questions to them. They'll have 2 minutes in addition to that. And who gets to speak first is drawn randomly, and then we kind of keep rotating in a rolling alphabetical order from there. Each candidate will also have then 2 minutes for closing statement, and again, they'll stay afterwards to speak with you. So, for opening statements, candidates, I need to let you know this stunningly handsome man here in the front row with the yellow checked shirt on is our timer tonight. He will let you know when you have 30. So T, if you would start us off.
Wonderful. Everyone can hear me? Excellent. Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you especially all of you who came out tonight to get to know us a little bit better. My name is T. Nadas. I am running for City Council here in Cleveland Heights. I've spent the past 13 years in the healthcare industry, listening to and working with people from every single level, specifically to accomplish one goal, and that's to help them solve problems. Within my community and my family, I've also always tried to do the same. 2 years ago, when I ran for city council, I listened to the needs of a Roxborough Elementary parent. And because I listened, I was able to coordinate what is now a successful and growing volunteer tutor program between Greek life at Case Western and Roxborough Elementary. As a councilman, I look forward to listening to everyone and working with all the individuals within the city and in our communities to implement similar great ideas, such as one-stop shopping for all community service opportunities within the city. Ideas to improve our recycling process, like having dedicated recycling bins in our homes and in our business districts. Finding more ways to bring rain barrels to our homes to help offset the rising sewer costs. All of these great ideas, however, would not be possible if council does not continue to collaborate with each other and lead our city government to focus on the core foundation of our city. We need to continue investing in our infrastructure, supporting our safety services, fire, police, EMS, and ensure that all the fundamental needs of each of our residents is met. And as we work together to accomplish all of these goals, I never want to lose sight of one important thing. Cleveland Heights is not just another cookie-cutter suburb. We are a community made up of diverse individuals. We do not simply exist in our homes, ignorant of what is happening around us, clearly indicated as you all came out tonight, but we work together within our unique neighborhoods, across 11 business districts, through religious and community organizations to continue to work together to make our city remarkable. And that is why I'm asking for your vote on November 7th, so that I can continue to listen to each one of you, collaborate with all the members of council, and keep our city strong. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Councilwoman Carol Rowe, and Councilman Jason Stein asked me to stand in for him this evening. So, in his words, my name is Jason Stein. I apologize that I am unable to be with you tonight. Thank you, noble neighbors, for putting together and hosting this forum. Thanks to each of you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to learn about the candidates and their position on the issues. For those of you who do not know me, I was born and raised in Cleveland Heights. I attended Boulevard, Wiley, and Heights High, graduating in 1995. My wife and I are raising our children in Cleveland Heights. My career thus far includes over 6 years of service as city council person, the last 2 as vice mayor. I have also served on this Cleveland Heights, University Heights Library Board and a number of committees of that board. The Noble area is ready. It is ready to think big. It is ready to see positive changes. I want to congratulate and thank the Noble neighbors for the advocacy work that has been going on to make Noble better. It is truly inspiring. I say inspiring because I have seen the positive difference you have made. Whether it is the Noble Community Home and Garden Sales, a community cleanup day, or Noble Neighbors representative attending council meetings. Change is happening. Since the creation of Noble Neighbors, there is much more discussion at City Hall about your neighborhood. I am proud that you were able to push up and prioritize the repaving of Noble Road this year. The potholes are gone and the beautiful new street will help us in our efforts to attract new businesses onto Noble Road. I am proud of the city's collaboration with the Noble neighbors to beautify the Noble district with planters and other amenities to improve the look and feel of the district. I am proud that council has taken a strong stance to shut down any business that is detrimental to the safety and well-being of the neighborhood. I am proud council has objected to new liquor licenses being issued. Tonight, the focus is on Noble Neighbors, and I'm happy to be here with you. Thank you.
Special thanks to Noble Neighbors for organizing this event. I'm Cheryl Stevens, and this is my third time asking for your support and your vote. I lived a lot of places before I became lucky enough to work and live in Cleveland Heights for almost 30 years. I came for a job at the City of Cleveland Heights as its Economic Development Manager and was promoted to Planning Director, and as I did my job, I fell in love with this community. I brought with me experience and a hard work ethic that I continue to use for this community. I have volunteered on 2 city boards, the Visioning Committee, which was a master planning activity, and the Planning Commission. For the first 6 years that I lived in Cleveland Heights, I lived on Ravine Drive off of Caledonia on the first floor in a double. And for the last 23, I've lived in Forest Hills in a cute little colonial. I'm the type of person committed to doing the small as well as the large tasks to help our community move from good to better and hopefully to best. I'm committed to financial stability, economic and community development and housing, and safety services. These 3 things are interrelated. Since the financial strength of a community defines how a community can undertake projects for housing and economic development and take care of its safety services, it's important for us to focus on these things to keep the community strong. I am asking for your vote on November 7th because you can continue to count on me to work for the financial stability of our community, ways to find efforts and special projects in community and economic development, and support of our safety services and housing initiatives, because we won't feel safe in our homes if we're not comfortable in our community. Thank you, and consider voting for me on November 7th.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mike Unger. It's nice to look out and see so many familiar faces. Hopefully, my face is familiar to yours. I don't want to be too sentimental or emotional about it. The reason I hope my face is familiar to yours is because I come to a lot of your meetings, and you know that. And it's not fortuity that causes me to come to your meetings. The truth is, when I first got on council, there was one neighborhood that stood out in terms of inviting me to come to their meetings and making me feel incredibly welcome. And at the end of the day, I'm just a human being, and we go to places where we feel welcome and we like the people. And that is what Noble Neighbors has been to me, basically from the get-go. So it's not a stretch for me to come in and say, I'm really happy to be here. I adore this neighborhood. There are many times, my wife's in the back, she can tell you, I tell her I wish I lived here. It's just a wonderful place. By way of background, for those that don't know me, I'm a lifelong Democrat. I'm a proud member of the Cleveland Heights Dems. I, along with my running mate, Melissa Yazanow, have been endorsed by the Cuyahoga County Democrats, the Cleveland Heights Dems, the AFL-CIO, and probably a few others that I'm forgetting. I've heard others come up to this microphone and say it's not about what you say, but about what you've done, and I agree with that. By way of background, I've been active and engaged in Cleveland Heights basically for most of my adult life since I've lived here. I'm a 31-year resident. Deborah and I raised 2 daughters here. Before coming on council, I served on Planning Commission for upwards of 20 years. I chaired the Planning Commission for 16 of those years, including the time when I had the privilege to serve with Cheryl Stevens. Each and every one of those 16 years where I became chair, I was elected, I believe unanimously, I didn't keep track, by my peers. I'm also involved with other Cleveland community organizations. I was the president of the Bar Association in Cleveland. I am currently on the board of the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland and the JCC. I'm a hard worker. I think the folks in Noble know that better than most. That applies to my responsibilities to each and every one of you as councilmen. My style and approach is I listen hard, I listen carefully, I study the issues, and then I'm not afraid to come down on one side or the other. Doesn't mean I always get it right, but I promise you I've thought about it very hard and very carefully. And I only put one filter on, and that is what is in the best interest of the citizens of Cleveland Heights. You saw that put into action when I decided, not because anybody here asked me to do it, not because anybody invited me to do it, but I, along with a bunch of other courageous folks, took on that darn Arco dump just over the border. And you all know what happened, and we were successful largely because of efforts. We got a lot of support, including from the members of this church and a number of other churches and a huge number of community folks, and I'm very appreciative of that. So I'm here to humbly and very respectfully ask for your support as I attempt to secure another 4 years on Cleveland Heights City Council. Thank you very much.
Can I start? Good evening, everybody. My name is Melissa Yasnow, and I am running for re-election to Cleveland Heights City Council. This is not the first time I've had the pleasure to speak with Noble Neighbors. One thing that I think is very important to me is you are not seeing me for the first time here. I've been regularly attending the Noble Neighbor meetings for at least the past year, so I think it's really important, at least for me personally, that I'm talking to you, that I'm working with you well before I'm here asking for your vote. By way of background, I'm a fifth-generation resident of the city of Cleveland Heights. My great-grandfather, Aaron Yasnow, is listed on the Cumberland Park Veterans Memorial. My grandfather, James Yasnow, ran for school board. He's in the Heights High Hall of Fame along with my father and my aunt. My grandfather founded the Barbershoppers here at Cleveland Heights High School. It has a very special place in my heart, and for no small reason that they came to the hospital and sang to him in his last few weeks. So when I think of Cleveland Heights, when I think of this city, I think of my family. I think of its past as well as its future, and I am seeking a spot on council so that I can keep this city's future strong. I am a sixth-year attorney. I hope to take those skills that I've learned arguing, researching, writing, and applying it for the benefit of the citizens of Cleveland Heights. I am proud to have the support of a number of community organizations, the Cuyahoga County Democratic Party, on which I am both a precinct and an executive committee member, Cuyahoga County Young Dems, AFL-CIO, and the Cleveland Heights Dems, to name a few. I'm someone who also very much believes in giving back. A very important part of who I am is encouraging civic engagement. One of the first things I did after being elected to council at age 28, the youngest member ever elected to Cleveland Heights Council, is I wrote a book on how to start your local campaign. I want more people running. I want people being engaged, and I hope that at least through my efforts I can help them get to square one. On council, I am chair of the Municipal Services Committee and a member of Finance Committee. As chair of Municipal Services, I empowered and worked with our staff to secure the early repaving of Noble Road. On council, I am also really proud to have championed the passage of Issue 53, which guarantees adequate fire and safety forces throughout the city. Although we will be getting into this a bit more later, a couple of things that I really want to see tackled. First and foremost, housing. I want to see what we can do to encourage home investment, owner occupancy, and to deal with the blight that is our vacancy. I also want to focus on safety and infrastructure development. My name is Melissa Yasnow. I hope I can count on your support tonight as well as on November 7th. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates, for your opening remarks. I appreciate that. There's a few of you who came in after we started, and I need to explain to you that together the rest of us have made a social contract, which probably sounds a little odd to you, is why we are not applauding these candidates. We've agreed that we aren't going to make any kind of noise, applause, or vocal noises, support or opposition, so that our evening moves a little faster. So that's a little explanation for those of you who came in later. There are 3 questions that we pose to these candidates ahead of time, and I'll be reading each one of them to you before we start. Then I'll be drawing a name for who is the first person to answer that question. Broadly, the 3 categories are economic development, secondly, housing, and third, community. So for our first question about economic development, the question posed to them was, what do you see as the primary opportunities and assets in the Noble District, which and our definition is east of Taylor, north of Mayfield. How will you advocate for that district, for this district? And the first person to speak will be Mike Unger, followed by Melissa Van T. Okay,
How long do I have?
2 minutes,
Okay,
please, 2 minutes.
cool. Okay. So, it's not a hard one for me. I think, first of all, I'm gonna flip it a little bit. When you think about the assets of this community, the assets of this community are represented by the folks who are in this room, period, end of story. When you think about what we should be focusing on, I think that you collectively have done an awesome job of already helping us to focus on what we need to be thinking about, and that is that Noble Triangle area. I attended and I participated, and I know many in the room did, in that Triangle Envisioning program on July 9th at Disciples Church. On March 25th, right here at this church, I participated in that unbelievable Center Mayfield District Planning charrette led by Paul Volpe, who was able to magically manipulate properties in a way that I've never seen done before. I talked to him earlier today, and I had him send me the PowerPoint so I could refresh my memory on it. It was incredible. And finally, on March 7th, I, along with a number of people in this room, attended the Future Heights Vacant and Abandoned Properties Forum again right here at Fairmont, at Noble Presbyterian. Those are terrific events, and those are the right things to be focusing on. When we get a CDC in place, which I hope will be happening sooner rather than later, I think the #1 priority for our city should be that Noble Triangle. And we got to do something, we got to pick something, we got to do it, we got to do it well, and we got to get it done. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. To flip it a little bit, as Mike did, on how you advocate for this district. Frankly, you make it easy. This event did not exist when I ran 4 years ago. Now we have a pretty full group. Noble Neighbors has grown its footprint, grown its voice, and I'm frankly seeing it all across the Noble District, and you can't help but notice and get attention. First and foremost, I'm thinking is what happened with the Circle K. You all showed up. You said that we do not want a Circle K here to come on in and to take over our homes. Vandemar organized. Vandemar had its first block party in years. So in terms of the assets of the Noble District, it is the residents, and you are the strongest advocates. You are the ones with the great ideas, and I'm happy to work with you and follow along. To continue on what the opportunities are, coming back on towards the Circle K, we have the Mayfield Triangle. Now, one of the things that is really important to me, and people talk about development, economic development, you're focusing on top of the hill, what are you going to do up here? Well, a big important factor in what we as a city can do is who owns the land. And in the Noble Triangle, the city owns a large, and by the way, the Noble Triangle is Noble, Warrensville, Mayfield, the triangle that is created by that. The city doesn't own all of the land, but the city does own a significant portion of it. The lot where there was the pick and pay, we have our service department there. I attended this past July in this very church, the same planning charrette that Councilman Unger was speaking about, and it gave me chills thinking about what we can do to transform this area. I think that there's a lot happening here right now. We're having the attention brought. I look forward to talking with people and to seeing what else we can bring here. I, for one, am very excited about the possibilities here in the Noble District.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay. So I just want to say that what a lot of people might consider blight, oh my God, sorry. What a lot of people might consider blight, I actually see as an asset and an opportunity. While there might be vacant storefronts throughout the Noble districts, the truth is that the homes and the apartments where you all are living are not vacant, and the community is strong. The city must make it a priority to bring businesses into the area, starting with basic amenities, things like a grocery store, cafes, restaurants, a gym. These are the opportunities that I see. These are the opportunities that I know that you all see as well. In terms of other assets that we have 3 beautiful business districts. We have a refugee population who is happy and engaged to be here. And we also have Future Heights, already mentioned, that is working towards being a CDC partner to help work with Noble Neighbors to develop these various areas. But the most important and biggest asset, as already mentioned, is all of you here today. I don't think that any one person up here could possibly do anything else to highlight that. So be aware that you are the biggest asset to this area. In terms of what I can do to advocate for your district, there's only one thing, and that is to make myself available to all of you. To listen to all of your needs, to help foster an environment that is most optimal to serve the community. Something I've already done is I've been having office hours out in the community, within libraries, within bars and coffee shops. I'm here to make myself available to you. I don't want there to be any barrier between the citizens and their ideas, their thoughts, their issues, and the members of council. Thank you.
Jason says, the greatest potential for economic growth in Cleveland Heights is the Noble District. Our schools need more tax dollars and so does the city. Focusing on improving the Noble Business District would create new jobs and would expand the tax collections and increase the value of the homes in the area. So back in 2008, the Cleveland Heights, University Heights Library Board made a cost savings decision to move to a 6-day week by closing all the CHUH branch libraries on Sundays, with the exception of the main Lee Road Library. When I was appointed to the library board in 2010, I championed the cause of reopening Noble Library on Sundays. I argued that the Noble District needs places like the library to be open and a place for children and adults to read, study, use the computer, and just have a safe place to go. I refuse to accept that reopening Sunday hours on Noble would necessitate reopening the Coventry Library too. Coventry and Noble are different, and Noble needs an extra investment. As well, when I was on the library board, we allocated funds for one library in the CHUH district to completely renovate or create a new children's section. To me, the choice was clear: invest into Noble. I want to invest in Noble and hope to work with you in terms of how we go about that. Thank you.
I have built a professional career focused on economic development and housing. The parking deck on Coventry exists today because of my personal and professional commitment to help this community stay financially viable. The plan that brought the housing, Grayton Courts, was built as a result of my planning and development team when I was the director of development for the city of Cleveland Heights. The city can and has brought on a new economic development team to help with the commercial districts, and that staffing can be a major factor in our positive future. Your continued input in telling us what you want and how you want it and where you want it will encourage the city staff and members of council to assist you in helping our tax base grow. Costs increase over time, so things like the master plan, doing them now, and focusing on how we get things done sooner rather than later is important. City Council can work with the staff to get businesses and development that is outside the box to locate in our neighborhoods. We should build relationships with groups like Team NEO and Jobs Ohio so that more economic development opportunities are sent to Cleveland Heights and the Noble Road area. I will continually ask staff to focus on commercial project development in the Noble area, like the Mayfield Triangle and the parcel we own there, but also the property located at 2228 Noble Road, which is approximately 1.25 acres, where housing or commercial development could be revitalizing this area. It's very important to focus on what we can do now and sooner when we own it. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. And again, another word for those of you who've come in later. Jason Stein has a schedule conflict, is unable to be here tonight. He has submitted his answers to the questions to us, and that is why Carol Rowe is reading those. The second question is about housing. The question posed to them was, how would you promote owner occupancy in the housing in Noble District? And the first person to speak on that will be Jason Stein, read by Carol Rowe.
Council recently passed new legislation to strengthen our certificate of occupancy rules that will target bad landlords. If there is a rental home that is delinquent on its property taxes, the city will remove the certificate of occupancy. This legislation will help the city weed out bad landlords, and I believe will have an effect of turning some of those bad rental properties into homeowner properties. I'm a big fan of the Home Resource Center in the Noble area. Their first-time home buyer seminars, down payment assistance loans, and other classes will be helpful in this transition from rental to home ownership. More help is also coming as the city has also created a citywide community reinvestment area known as a CRA. This will significantly benefit the Noble neighborhood as homeowners that want to invest and improve their homes would be eligible for tax abatement on the improved value. Typically, tax abatement is only on new construction. I am very excited about the prospects of offering tax abatement to current homeowners. This incentive for current Cleveland Heights homeowners will help them to budget home improvements. These home improvements, like a first floor bedroom addition or replacing a garage, will add value to their homes and value to their neighbors' homes.
The primary land use in Cleveland Heights is housing, as we all know. We have a diverse and very valuable housing stock, at least to us. The north end of town, the Noble area, is under pressure from outside sources. Financial incentives that allow for flipping and a negative impact, and competition from the outer ring suburbs, which attract people who want modern amenities in their homes. They destroy our very valuable commodity of housing. To combat that negative pressure, flipping and investment in the outer rings that exceeds our community's investments, I have worked and supported since 2013 the city manager and staff efforts to obtain, just as my colleague referred to, the citywide tax abatement as an incentive to invest in not only new construction, but also renovation and additional investment in existing homes. So for example, a $25,000 investment in a kitchen and bathrooms won't bring an additional tax burden in the near future to a homeowner who's contributed and invested in our great community, but it will help values rise in the neighborhood. And last year, the city manager and I, along with the treasurer from the school board and their attorney, met with the physical officer from Cuyahoga County so that we can try and stop the downward slide of housing values in the north end of town. We are working with them to get the data collected that shows investment that's being made in homes over time so that we can document that investment to show evidence of continued upward increases in the values of our housing stocks in the north end of town. And so these two actions together can increase the financial stability of our housing stock in the Noble area and make it more valuable.
I don't have to tell this audience, this is a wonderful place to live. And we need to continue to do everything we can to focus on retaining that attractiveness and enhancing it. We also, as a city, need to do, quite frankly, a better job of getting out there and marketing the heck out of this area of town. We just do. We've got a new communications, or we're going to have some exciting stuff happening. You're hearing that from all the candidates this evening. I too believe it is just around the corner. I really believe that, thanks to the efforts of the folks in this room and others that care deeply about this community. Once we get that positive buzz or vibe, or however you want to describe it, going, we got to get the word out. We got to get the word out to real estate agents. Some prominent real estate agents are in the audience this evening, and I know that some of them are fantastic cheerleaders for this community. That, frankly, is one of the jobs of council, in my view. We need to be a cheerleader for the Noble neighborhood area. And it's not a hard sell when it comes to my thinking, and I don't think it's a hard sell with respect to others as well. The communications, again, have to be stepped up. We've got to get the message out. I think it's a well-kept secret, frankly. I can tell you as one who didn't live here, it was a well-kept secret for me, and I'm really glad I found out about it. Now we got to get the word out.
All right. I think that there are a couple of concrete things that we can do to increase owner occupancy here in the Noble District and improve home values. I don't want to sound like a broken record of some of my colleagues, but I do think it is important to emphasize that we are working to make a citywide community reinvestment area, a CRA, so that individuals can invest in their homes, put up a garage, a bathroom, a first floor bedroom, and not have to deal with the any tax burden for the value added. I think that is first and foremost a great way to encourage investment in home ownership by encouraging it through tax abatement. If possible, I would want to see what we can do to condition possibly greater tax abatement opportunities for owner-occupied residencies, first and foremost. I also, however, want to say that a lot of people come into the city of Cleveland Heights first and foremost as renters. So I think we need to show them that you can be a solid renter here in the city of Cleveland Heights and transition to an owner-occupier. I know I did, and I do know that there are some people here tonight who share a similar story. I think it's important to also show that those who do rent here, that they have solid landlords. A piece of legislation that we have passed is that if you are a landlord who is behind on their taxes or who has not paid their nuisance fines and fees, that you do not get a certificate of owner occupancy. This is important because we need to guarantee solid home values throughout. And finally, I want to mention another piece that has happened that I'm really proud of here. We've empowered our housing director, Alan Butler, to do something wonderful. He has worked with our municipal court on increasing the time, hastening the time for a person who has a violation to become in for a summons. Now it's like when you get a parking ticket or a traffic violation, if you have a nuisance property, you will be brought in within 3 days, having a court date. Thank you.
Sorry, this is difficult. They shouldn't have put us next to each other.
I know.
Owner occupancy in the Noble District. One of the things you might not know about me is that I currently sit on the Citizens Advisory Committee, which primarily works with recommending to council how to distribute city development block grant funding. With that, I have become intimately aware of so many great organizations and programs that help support this subject specifically. Already mentioned the Home Repair Resource Center and their work with the Neighborhood Stabilization Program and the Down Payment Assistance Program. Additionally, the Neighborhood Relations Program, ensuring that illegal and nuisance behavior is being addressed, preventing the neighborhood issues from escalating to a point where they become problems to the entire block and or neighborhood. Partnering with the Department of Aging and the Housing Preservation Office to serve our senior population, such as great programs as the Exterior Paint Grant and the Violation Repair Program. Already mentioned the community reinvestment areas, and as well as working with the Cleveland Tenants Organization. All of these organizations are here to help support specifically this function, and the best thing to do on council is to continue partnering with these organizations. However, the one thing that was also mentioned that I want to highlight is marketing and PR. A lot of people look at Cleveland Heights as a city, but don't actually understand that we are not just a city, we are business districts, we are neighborhoods. We are not a place to drive through, we are a place to drive to. We are a place where there's so much opportunity and so many great people, great neighborhoods, great everything. Sorry, I got really excited. I love Cleveland Heights. And I think it's important that we continue to market ourselves And we work on all of our gateways into the city, and we work on figuring out how do we possibly properly make sure that people around Northeast Ohio recognize what a great place it is to live here. Thank you.
I agree with you, it's hard not to applaud, especially after that one. We'll get there, you'll have your chance in a few more minutes. Our third question is regarding community. How will you support the work that is already being done by this community for the Noble District? And the first person to speak about that will be Cheryl Stevens.
As I said earlier, my first home in Cleveland Heights was in this neighborhood. It's kind of like your first love. I will continue to work and support this area by attending meetings in the Noble area. Two of my closest friends live in this area, so I'm up here regularly and I stay in touch because I care. And if I didn't care, I wouldn't be on council. I would support work by doing things like spending my money in businesses on Noble area. When I just bought a new Jeep. Before I bought that new Jeep, I made the one I had last forever. So I spent time at McCarthy's, Morelli's, and Hollis. So I was regularly on Noble Road. Now that I have a new Jeep, I'm spending less time with them, but I still spend time in the district. I worked with Councilman Anthony Hairston when it was time to get the Noble, when staff had made the request of the county government to move our request up for resurfacing Noble Road. I kept calling Anthony week after week to make sure that our request stayed at the top of the list. I don't have all the ideas for good things. Some of those good ideas will come from you. And I believe that together we can make sure the right things happen. For example, my first time on council, one of my friends who lives in the district said one of the bars on Noble Road did not need to get an expanded liquor license. And I was one of the first people to stand up and say, look, let's approach the state liquor board and tell them we're not interested. And in 2016, when the Sunny Spot wanted to reopen after a loss of life there, I personally took the time off to go down, sit in the courtroom, and ask the judge if I could speak to keep the owners from reopening that bar. So I'm committed in ways outside of the standard ways. I look for opportunities that will protect our neighborhoods and protect you. And when it comes to Noble, you're first in my heart. So there's my commitment to you as your neighborhood.
So how am I going to support what's going on here? If you'll have me, I'll continue to show up. I promise you. I will continue to participate in a very active way, the way I have already. I promise you, and long before, and Melissa said it better than I'm about to say it, but that interest in what was happening in Noble was on my radar screen way in the past, long before there was any thought about running for council or having a council race. I'm going to talk about the positives and the negatives. On the positive side, we've already hit it, so I'm going to be brief. The positive side, we need to get this CDC thing going. We need to get it going like yesterday. And we need to be focusing its initial efforts in the Noble neighborhood, period, end of story. When you think about, on the negative side, when you think about some of the problems that confront our city, I believe that our current abandoned, vacant housing, delinquent tax properties is a toxic problem. I believe that it is contagious. I believe that it is infectious. I believe that it needs to be an absolute top priority of this council, of this administration. We are in an enviable position of being a council where we don't have executive function. So we can think things, but we can't actually act on them. So we need to work in a very cooperative, facilitated way with our city manager and with our brilliant city staff to make sure those are the types of things that we are focused on and addressing here. Again, going back to that vacant housing problem, that was identified as an enormous problem in our master plan steering committee efforts. Some of you were on it. And if you weren't on it, you attended the community forums where you heard about the priorities that were identified. And I thought that that was a brilliant effort by both the county planning staff, by our own planning staff, and by the community activists who were willing to participate in it. You heard largely the same thing from our economic development plan. They are both spot on, and we as a council need to execute. Simple as that.
How will I support that's already being done here in Noble? Well, my mom has a saying, you can't fake showing up. And you can't. I've been coming to Noble neighborhood meetings for well over the past year. Our first campaign event was actually here in the Noble neighborhood with the big Noble Fair. We had a booth up at Oxford. We were passing out candy, getting signatures on our petition. I also want to say that we worked to help this fair come to being. My small contribution, if I may add, is we were asked to go and find musical acts to perform throughout the neighborhood. I helped find, and I'm very proud to say, the Silver String Band, who also reside in Cleveland Heights. They are quite lovely if you like the mandolin. I'm also proud to say that I support our businesses. Me and Mike, we made a strategic choice, and I'm probably a little more excited about it than the rest of you, but we're getting t-shirts. And we decided to get our t-shirts printed here in the Noble neighborhood, a touch of elegance here on, a touch of excellence, I mean, here on Noble Road. That is important to me. Other things that I'd like to say that I'm doing here, showing up, I'm coming to the block parties. Vandermoor had its first one in years. We were there. We have house parties throughout the neighborhood. We're having one on Atherstone in a few weeks. We had one on Oak Ridge. We're here to talk to the community. We're here to have substantive discussions. And my hope is just to continue exactly what it is we're doing. I want to focus on housing. I want to focus on problem properties. I want to focus on liquor license. I hope to see you at the Police Academy, where we have our Meet Your Police events. I attend those as well. My name is Melissa Yasnow, and I'm here to listen to you and work with you, and I'm never going to fake showing up.
I've already talked to you about how I want to make myself available through actually doing what teachers did all throughout school, office hours, putting myself out there, making sure that I'm available to you to listen. In terms of supporting the work that's already being done, I love the initiatives that Future Heights has done with the workshop that they've run. I'd love to see some of those ideas actually come to fruition. Things like branding the triangle as a gateway to the Noble neighborhood. Additional ideas that I've heard that I am in huge support of is the idea of having foreclosure bonds brought into our city legislation to hold the banks accountable, not necessarily to increase property values, but to at least stabilize the housing values so they don't continue to decrease. However, the one thing that I will say is the best thing on the table for Noble right now is the charter review process that is happening. When you have 7 people that could listen to you, you also have 7 people that could ignore you. When there are 3 business districts in Noble out of 11, some quick math, so that was what, 3/11ths of somebody's time being dedicated to you? That to me is unacceptable. I really hope that within the charter review process, that one of the outcomes actually does create a ward-based representation system. I have absolutely no way to actually affect this, so I'm going to urge members of council right now, as they are choosing people to sit on that committee, and I also urge the people that are on that committee to in fact ensure that there is somebody sitting at the table at council whose sole focus is on this neighborhood. Thank you.
I support the work of the Noble neighbors. The improvements to Noble are laying the groundwork for bigger and better developments in the near future. However, I am concerned about the potential of closing Noble Elementary School. I have spoken about this at joint council and school board meetings and voiced my opposition. As well, I have spoken about my concerns with some of the current school board members and some of the candidates that are running for school board. I have made it clear I will not support the closing of Noble School. The neighbors support Noble. The local school-aged children attend Noble. Noble needs Noble School, and Noble School needs us. I ask the Noble neighbors to activate now to oppose the closure of Noble School. Do not wait. I stand with Noble School and the Noble neighbors.
The candidates also have 2 minutes for closing remarks, and we will begin with Melissa Yasnow.
Thank you all very much for being here tonight. It is greatly appreciated. One of the things that I don't think people realize so much when you run for council is how humbling it is, because you could all be home with your families. You could all be home having a nice dinner, watching TV, Netflix and chill, and yet you're here listening to us and what we have to say. So first off, just thank you for that. It is greatly appreciated. My name is Melissa Yasnow. I have had the pleasure, the privilege, and the honor of serving as your councilwoman for the past 4 years. I've done my best to represent the Noble District and all of this city. I care about what you have to say and your concerns. The greatest pleasure I've ever had while serving on council was actually helping a lovely little woman who was very concerned about a tree that she was afraid was going to fall on her tree lawn. She knitted me 2 scarves after that, and I keep them in my house, in my closet. Thanks to this weather, I haven't had to wear them. I'm not really certain what to say other than I humbly and gratefully ask for your support. I've enjoyed my time here. I hope I'll have the pleasure of another 4 years. I also am saying I'm running with Mike Unger, and I hope that you would be kind enough to let me have him as a colleague for another 4 years. That would be greatly appreciated as well. If you have any questions or any concerns, call me, email me. I'm always free for a cup of coffee. My name is Melissa Yasnow. If you vote early, please do vote early for me. If you vote on Tuesday, November 7th, please vote for me then. I thank you for your time and your consideration. That is all.
I couldn't have said it better, honestly.
Sit down.
It's amazing being here. It's amazing going door to door. It's amazing listening to everyone. I'll be honest, I'm not somebody that likes small talk. It's my least favorite thing in the world. And to knock on someone's door and to avoid all small talk and to immediately say, hi, I'm T, I'm running for city council, and for someone to say, oh, you're running for city council? Let me tell you all the problems in this city. The opportunity to make these kinds of emotional connections immediately with individuals is what energizes me, what drives me to continue to campaign, and what makes me want to serve. The opportunity to learn your story, to learn about how long have you been here? What is it that you love? What is it that you don't like? How can we work together to make it better? But not just as an individual, as organizations, as blocks, as neighborhoods, as businesses, all of it. It's so inspiring. And everything that I have done and everything that I will do will be to somehow serve. Whether I get elected or not, I will still continue, hopefully, to serve on the Citizens Advisory Committee, because the exposure to the individuals, the exposure to the organizations of people who only want what's best for this city is the most awe-inspiring experience of my time here in Cleveland Heights. So I humbly ask you for your vote on November 7th. Again, my name is T. Nadas. Thank you.
The time is now. A repaved Noble Road, land available for something transformative that will springboard the entire district to be built on Mayfield. An organized Noble Neighbors community and an engaged city hall. I really wish I could have been here tonight because I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you think about what was said tonight. I want to hear what your ideas are. I use Facebook to ask questions and receive feedback from the residents about city issues. If you have Facebook, please be in touch via facebook.com/Stein for Cleveland Heights, or send me an email at jstein@cleveheights.com, or call me at 440-253-9613. I look forward to hearing from you. My name is Jason Stein, and I humbly ask for your vote on November 7th. Thank you.
Thank you for your patience in listening to each and every one of us tonight as we explain to you why we want your support. Here's the story about me. I went to dinner at Barbara Boyd's house. Yes, the former mayor and councilperson of Cleveland Heights. Not once, but several times. And the abbreviated version is she gave me a pecan pie and told me I needed to come and live and work in Cleveland Heights. And I'm born of a Southerner, and I'm a Southerner, and that pecan pie sealed the deal. I applied for the job, I continued to eat pecan pies at her house, and I got the job and I fell in love with this town. In other words, I chose this town after living all over the world and having opportunities to live from Tokyo to Athens, Greece. I care for this town, I'm committed to financial stability for us, I'm willing to do anything I can to help us have better housing and good economic development through working through the master planning activities, building a CDC with the community. I, like Councilman Unger, believe that a CDC is key activity to our positive future. I'm willing to work early or late on our collective behalf. I believe things like tax abatement and pushing our county officials to help us more is really important, and those are the kinds of things you elect us to do on your behalf. I'm dedicated, hardworking, and collaborative. Please vote for me, Cheryl Stevens, on November 7th, and I will continue to work hard for you, doing the little things as well as the big things. Thank you.
Well, I just want to say thank you again. This is a wonderful evening, wonderful audience. I'm thrilled to have the privilege to be here. I want to thank Brenda May and all the others who organized this, and obviously thank all the folks from this church who gave us, frankly, the finest venue I've presented in yet in this campaign. Look, this is important stuff, and we're talking about serious issues. We're talking about some potentially serious problems, and we're talking about some tremendous opportunities. I think that you ultimately need to decide who can walk the proverbial talk, who's actually going to get it done. I submit to you that you've seen me in action, whether it's ARCO, whether it's the master plan, whether it's the various planning charrettes in this community or community forums. I've been there and I've participated. Now, I know this won't come as a newsflash to the folks in the room who know me, but subtle is not usually a term that is ascribed to me. Folks usually know where I stand, and I promise you that where I stand when it comes to the Noble neighborhood is not a secret vis-a-vis our staff. Again, council sets the policy. Council sets the policy, and then the staff is required to execute that policy. I have what I believe to be a very good working relationship with our city manager. I hail, as you heard, from the Planning Commission side of things. I have an excellent relationship with Richard Wong, Carol O'Donnell, Karen Knittel, and others who are fine professionals who work in our planning department. Good working relationship with our new economic development team, whether it's Tim Boland or Brian Anderson, and likewise we talked a little bit about Mary Trupo, who's getting her sea legs and doing a fantastic job on the communications front. So they're going to be very clear on what it is that and I don't think you hear much disagreement up here, what I and my fellow colleagues on council want to see when it comes to Noble. So you will continue to see more of the same.